Hey guys, it's Kevin at Watchhimtrade.com. It's Friday, May 22nd. The market is open. Had a good morning this morning trading some Apple, and one of the members in my live trading community posed this question to me when I was getting ready to wrap things up and asked, "Hey, does anybody have any questions?" Brian wanted to know how I was able to time the entries and exits so well on Apple. He said so good, but we won't criticize him for his English. That's neither here nor there. But anyways, so this whole timing aspect, right? Especially on Fridays, it's very important to time your entries well. And it's not easy, but I think it is the most important aspect of being an active trader, and that's something I try and be. We can all live with a bad exit, right? You exit too late, you give up 50% gains and you only sell for 20% gains, exiting too late, or you exit too early, you make 20% gains when 20 minutes later you could have had 50% gains. But those things aren't going to really kill you. They might keep you from advancing as far as you could, but they're not going to hold you and bring you down. All right. Whereas a bad entry will do just that. If you get a bad entry, it's lights out. You are not going to be in this game very long if you're not at least getting good entries. So I was fortunate to have some pretty good entries on Apple today, and I want to talk about why I nailed some of these and what went into the thought process. So here's my orders. You can see on Apple today all my buys and sells. I was trading the 130 strike calls, and the first aspect of this is that the calls I was trading had very little premium. It's Friday, so right now you can see, for instance, these calls, the 130 strikes are at $2.33. Apple's at 132.28, so they've got 3 cents worth of premium, give or take. Very little premium. That's the first thing that goes into making comfortable entries on an expiration Friday for me, is choosing a strike with very little premium, because if I can do that, then instead of trading the option, what I really get to do is just trade the stock through the option. What I mean by that is all my stop losses, since there's no premium, I'm just going to be referencing everything the stock does, because as long as there's no premium, I'm not worried about time decay or anything like that with my option prices. So that's the first thing, is picking the proper strike. I liked the 130 strikes because they were in the money, very little premium. I knew I could just keep a close eye on Apple's share price and use that to set up how I was going to trade the option itself. So first entry here was at 9:36, 6 minutes into the day. And what I saw was Apple a clean break above yesterday's high and then testing the 132 area, which is just a dollar mark. Now I really liked what I was seeing, so I made an initial chase trade on Apple. I bought in at 216, and that was somewhat high, but I liked what I was seeing and I kind of just wanted to participate, knowing though that I was going to buy dips. And when I say knowing I was going to buy dips, this right here, what I'm going to show you, is the most important part of being able to go long a stock that you like. All right, so at 9:44, you can see this is a screenshot of my notes that I keep right next to me in my notebook. 9:44, I wrote down that the stock was at $132.10. Again, 9:44, so this is after I had taken that first contract. And I said 132 holds or 131 plus washes that get bought keep me higher. I know my handwriting is chicken scratch, but that's what it says. And so what this means is, it means I'm looking for one of two things to keep my bias higher, aka buy dips and add more size to this position. Number one, a clean hold above 132, or number two, and more preferably for me, washouts into the high 131s. That's why I put 131 pluses, just to signal high 131s. And that's at 9:44. Well, you look at what the stock did. If we go to a minute chart here to break it down and really give a good look at things, it's at 9:44. So let's just zoom in here, this first batch of price action. So again, 944, I say 132 holds or 131 plus washouts. Then 945, the stock is around 132.01. Then 2 minutes later, it's 132.04 off of 131.89 low. And I underline that low to emphasize that it's an important low. And that is this move right here, guys. All right. And you can see here's our 132. So there's the 132. There's the little washout below 132. And look at this candle. It got bought right away. And I was watching on level 2. I liked what I was seeing. And that matched up exactly with what I said. 131 plus washes that get bought. So I saw that get bought. So what do? Well, at 946, I buy another contract at 195, and then 1 minute later at 947, because now at 947 I'm profiling the stock, and you can see here the stock has gotten bought. It's 132.04 off of that 189 low, 132.07, 132.12. So I'm sensing that this thing's getting ready to go. So I add more at $2.10 and average up. So the takeaway here, the original question, how was I able to time this entry so well? Well, it's because I wrote down exactly what I was looking for. I communicated to myself what I wanted the stock to do in order to take an entry. And when you communicate something to yourself, it makes it that much easier to execute when it shows up. If you're not writing down your ideas or writing down what you want to see, you're either one of two things: very skilled, in which case you're probably not watching this video to begin with, or just putting yourself at a disadvantage and probably struggling to really get consistent, which is why you're looking for help and you stumbled across this video. So write things down, guys. Profile your stocks. Say what you want. Whether or not you're right about what you want, that's another story. But at least this way you'll find out. You'll have a record to go back and look, just like I'm going back right now. So I saw that hold. I saw the 131 action get bought. That's what got me in. I increased my size, and then I set up a time frame for what I wanted the stock to do. At 9:49, I said I wanted to get towards 132.50 by 10:30. All right, and then just simple profiling: 132.25, 132.32. Just kept profiling, and my target was 132.50 to 133. Where does that target come from? Well, again, if you look at my notes, this is another screenshot. At 9:43 with the stock around 132.11, I made mention of a target that 32.50 is at least in play based on what I'm seeing. And earlier at 9:36, I had talked about 133 as being in play. So that's where I'm getting those targets from. Again, writing things down, communicating what I want to see to myself, so then as the stock starts trending towards my target off of this low, you can see the first move up to 132.40, and then another one approaches 132.50. That's between 9:50 and 10 o'clock. What do? Well, I sell one of my positions at 9:55 at $2.47. I had sold another one at 9:52 at $2.37. On the way up to my target, I am letting off some of my contracts. I had 3. I sold 2 at that point. Then the stock does a little dip. Around 10 o'clock, it's dipping a little bit, but I'm still profiling everything. Okay? Between 9:55 and 10:05, I've got my profile. Profiling just means writing down the prices, profiling the stock. And you can see at 9:52, what did I do? I wrote down what I wanted to see to keep me in. I wanted to see 132.20-ish act as support now. So then when the stock did this little pullback here around 9:55, it held 132.20s perfectly. So instead of freaking out when it's coming down, I'm staying composed because I've communicated to myself, all right, here you are, you're right in your support area. That's exactly where you said you wanted to see it hold support. Now let's see if it holds support. If it does, your target's still intact, everything's good, and you can see kept the profile going. We're right back up near 132.50. I make note of the nice quick recovery, just kind of to reassure myself of what I'm seeing. Again, communication is very important throughout this whole thing. Constantly communicating to myself what I am seeing, what I'm liking, and what I want to be seeing in order to stay in. So I get above 132.50 and I sell the last contract that I have at 10.08 at $2.60 from those entries between 195 and 215. So nice 20% gains on that final exit. So now that's at 10.08. Okay, my last exit is at 10.08 and I'm out of the stock. And around 10.08, Apple is right around 132.60s ish. All right, so now at 10.08, what do I want to see moving forward to get me to participate again? Just zooming in here and the time frame we want. All right, so again, I'll go back to my notes that I was taking and just line up. So at 10.08, I should have said something. Okay, so here's my notes around 10.08, so around 132.60s. Right, so now what do I want to see? This is where, after I exit the trade, now I should start talking about what's next. And it's perfect because I do just that. And if I sound proud of myself, it's because I am. You know, this is something I've been working on myself. Taking notes is a practice. It's a skill you have to develop. So when I look at this, I'm really happy to see that I did exactly what I need to be doing. So at 10.10, stock is at 132.64. And I say, so now I want to see 132.40-ish act as support for 133s to stay legit. That's just my way of communicating to myself that, hey, as long as we hold the 132.40 area, then a move up towards 133 will remain in play. So then what do? I continue to profile the stock. 10.58, 10.19, it's at 132.58. 10.20, 132.50. 10.22, it's at 132.47. So this is when it's starting to approach my area. This is when I should be starting to look at some orders. And again, that's at 10.22-ish. And if you look back at my orders, you can see at 10.20, at 10.19, I enter an order to buy at 242. That order fills 4 minutes later at 10.24, and then I buy some more at 10.25, and I buy another one at 10.25. I'm buying between 240 and 239, just a really tight range, because if we just glance at where the stock is, right around 1040, right around 1020, look at where it is, guys. Right here in this 132.40 area. So before it came down to this point, I communicated that this was the area I wanted to see it have support in. So then when that area shows up, now instead of being scared, I can act without hesitation and put my entries in. And if you look at my notes again, you can see at 10.25, it was at 132.37, so actually below my 132.40. But what did I say? I said I want it around here. That's just a quick note to say I want it to hold support right around here, because that's right in line with my 132.40-ish area, and I had taken my full position. So as long as it holds there, I'm going to be looking for a bounce back up. And then at 10.27, she's 132.47, and I just mentioned that if it can get above 50 to 40 or stay above the 32.50 to 32.40 range, it is GTG. GTG is good to go. So once it got back above 50, I'm thinking she's good to go, and my target is still on up towards 133s. And you look at the recovery back up here. Okay, I was a buyer on this dip right here, what I'm labeling number 1. And that ended up being a great entry, and I was able to catch a nice move to the upside towards 132.80s. And just like the first time, as my target approaches, I sell my position off. One sell at 255, and then one more sell at $2.80. So 10 to 20% gains in 10 minutes off of those entries that I had communicated that I wanted. So the point of this video isn't to say I made a good trade or look at me. The point is, a year and a half ago I didn't take notes, and a year and a half ago I got scared when my entries showed up. The reason I don't get scared now, or don't get scared as often as I used to, is because I take notes and I stay composed. I communicate to myself what I want to see, and it makes it so much easier to let the stock action be just that, stock action, not a scary monster underneath the bed. Because how many times are you in a trade and you don't really know what you're looking for or what you want to see, and something shows up seemingly out of nowhere and it scares you out, it shakes you out of the trade, and you're fucked. So take notes, communicate what you want to see to yourself. You will not always be right. I was fortunate to have some good levels and be spot on with these entries. That's not always going to be the case. But again, if you're taking notes, you at least create a record for you to go back and study and line it up with the chart and say, oh, okay, I was off by 15 cents or I was off by 10 minutes. Something like that. So put yourself in an advantage, guys. Put yourself at an advantage. Take notes, communicate what you want to see. That'll help you avoid hesitating at your levels, and it will result in better trades. I promise. Good luck, guys. And if you're interested in more stuff like this, some of you are already signed up, but go to Watchhimtrade.com, take a 7-day trial to my live trading so you can see trades that I made today on Apple every single day, and we can have these types of conversations and help each other get better.